Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee. My name is David Dunmoyer with the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and a research paper is being handed out, which is our foray as a foundation into water policy. So I want to first say we've brought on a team with decades of experience in water policy, so we're looking forward to working with you all. However, we can be a resource in the interim. We stand ready to help. And with that, this discussion here today, I serve as a campaign director for technology policy, and this discussion about critical infrastructure cybersecurity, as underscored by prior testimony from Muleshoe, it's right in our backyard, and these issues are transpiring at rates that should drop the jaw. And I want to contextualize the Muleshoe and Chairman Perry, the attacks in your district as well, with three quick points. First, as mentioned, this was Russian cyber terrorists. And this is the new digital warfare landscape that we're seeing. Second, in Hale Center, there were 37,000 unique attempts to infiltrate the city's firewall in a series of what became a successful attack. And then finally, with attacks that we're seeing in Texas or across the country in water infrastructure, they should be seen as pre-positioning. So it's not just the damage that's done after the fact where water has been flooded or there is a palpable effect. Every time Russian terrorists hack into a system, they have new insights on vulnerabilities to refine their tactics, techniques, and protocols for future attacks. So all that should be kept in mind when looking at proactive responses. And as has been mentioned, when looking at some of the real concerns, the poisoning of water supplies and water treatment facilities, that's a real risk. Oldsmar, Florida dealt with that about 3 years ago. So as a jumping off point into some statistics that we highlighted in our research paper, initially, about 60% of critical infrastructure cybersecurity attacks are committed by foreign actors. And so this is, again, Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, and so on. So that's 2/3 of attacks. Second, 74% of data breaches resulted from human error, and that's across the spectrum. And 33% of critical infrastructure attacks are enabled by internal personnel. And there was a CISA report where they did a vulnerability assessment, and they found that valid accounts were responsible for 54% of cyber attacks, and I'm happy to unpack what that means. And subsequently, 33% of attacks were conducted vis-a-vis spear phishing links. And so all those statistics, to highlight one last one, ransomware, while not the most common attack method for critical infrastructure, it used to be a low odds proposition for foreign actors, meaning only about 2.9% of victims paid the ransom in 2012 when infrastructure systems were hit. That number is now as high as 48% of victims are paying the ransom to cyber terrorists. And I should say there's actually one final statistic I want to highlight. In 2000, there was approximately $18 million in damages done in the U.S. For cybercrime broadly. That number in 2023 is now $12.5 billion. So there's been a 5,220% increase in cybercrimes across the U.S. from 2000 until today. And to illustrate, I do tech policy, and we're spending a lot of time looking at artificial intelligence. These numbers could be dwarfed when actors are using Gen AI and other new emerging technologies to have even more sophisticated, virulent, and frequent attacks. So all the more reason to why we're grateful to have this discussion today and look at solutions for next session. And for cybersecurity experts, they tend to look at three common ingredients that make for a quote-unquote successful cyber attack. That's capability, opportunity, and motivation. And motivation tends to be money, but we're seeing more and more it is threat actors wreaking havoc to showcase they can bring our systems offline when they want to. With regards to capability, I mentioned AI is increasing the ability for laypersons or less than sophisticated criminals to now use new technologies to attack our critical infrastructure systems. And finally, with opportunity, I'd hasten to add that it's a newer phenomenon that we've digitalized our water infrastructure. As recently as about 10 years ago, there was air gapping or decentralization in a lot of our critical water infrastructure. And now you're seeing with urban areas and increasingly rural areas, there's a push for smart cities, for the Internet of Things, for interoperability, all of our critical infrastructure tied to central nodes, meaning the valid accounts. If you hack into an email, somebody that's working at a facility, they get into that network and it's all interconnected all the way through the house, and the smart water meters that are attached to a home. That's where you see cataclysm on a scale that we should do everything in our power to avoid with good public policy. And with that, good public policy, I have a research paper that's been passed around. There are 7 policy recommendations. A lot of them we're kicking the can right now. Would love to chat with any of your offices about ways that we can be helpful on those. It's a holistic issue that demands holistic policy responses. With that, happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and I remind